You are listening to The Vibe, a 21 News podcast talking about Valley entertainment, pop culture, and everything in between.
Hello, it's Thursday, April 24th, and you are listening to
The Vibe,
the second ever episode of WFMJ's Lifestyle Podcast. And I'm your co-host, Jodie White.
And I'm your other co-host, Jimmy Wendolek. And we're joined by a special third co-host today. For those of you who are watching visually, Tom A. Toe here. He's going to help us talk about our topic for today's episode, which is something very close to our hearts and our taste buds. Tomatoes.
Yeah, and to help us talk about tomatoes, we have Brooke Tomato from Three Maples on Market joining us today. Brooke, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we love talking about tomatoes as a community here in the Valley, and you are the expert.
It's literally in her name, so
It is.
she better be an expert, otherwise there's an issue there.
Yeah.
So, Brooke, how'd you get into the tomato industry, I guess?
My husband and I, we bought a pack of seeds way back when, and we planted them, looked up some information online, and then we ended up finding out that we were really good at growing plants, and it kind of stemmed that way. I felt really bad about you're supposed to cut one off if you grow more than one, if you put more than one inside of a seed cell, and I just didn't have the heart to kill the plant. So we ended up selling our extras, and it just blossomed from there. So now we have about 1,000 different varieties of tomatoes that we grow, and we've added on basil. I found that I'm insanely amazing at growing basil plants. I know. So I have this knack for, I guess I just have green thumbs.
Yes,
So
she is
you
a green
have
thumb.
a micro farm in your backyard?
Yes. Yep. We have a greenhouse, and this year we have about 51 varieties of heirloom tomatoes that we're growing for sale. I think we have 11 varieties of basil, and then some other different bobs and whistles.
And a lot of people are going to be looking to get their own tomatoes in the ground here over the next couple of weeks. So we're going to get into all those details here. But we like to start off with an icebreaker question here.
Ooh.
So our icebreaker question today, as you know, the tomato connoisseur in
Yes.
the building. What is your favorite tomato-infused food dish?
Ooh, okay. So this one's pretty easy. So I found this recipe for French bread. So you could just go to Panera and get yourself a big long baguette and then slice it in half. And then you mix up this like mayo with parsley concoction, and you spread that on the bread, and you drizzle with balsamic vinaigrette, and then slice your heirloom tomatoes on top, broil for 2 minutes or so. It's mind-blowing.
Add
So
some of your basil?
yes,
Yeah.
the basil is very important.
So I think that we have to have her back in a couple months for, cooking segments with Brooke.
Ooh, that
Yeah,
would be
that would
fun.
be
Yeah,
really
we'll have
fun.
to see. What about you, Jodie?
Okay, so my favorite is anything with rice, like a rice bowl. Cherry tomatoes, my favorite, because I can grow those. I've been known to grow the cherry tomatoes on my deck, which I love. And the
Oh.
kids pick them off and put them in their bowl, and then add protein and an avocado. What about you?
Ketchup.
course.
One word answer, just ketchup. I put ketchup on too many things. Mac and cheese goes in ketchup. Rice goes in ketchup.
What?
Hamburgers, ketchup on the burger gets dipped in extra ketchup.
Naturally.
It's just all ketchup.
Eggs?
Has to be Heinz. No, actually.
You do
That's
not
the
eat
one
ketchup
thing
on
that
your
I
eggs.
do not put ketchup in. I dip my eggs in like a little extra side of whipped cream cheese.
Really?
Yes.
Well, maybe try the tomatoes.
Yeah, we can try the tomato thing.
Have you made your own ketchup before?
No, I have. Do you know how to make your own?
Yeah.
We have tried it, and it actually turned out really good.
So what's like the ketchup making process? Like, how's that work?
You have to boil down the tomato product, and then I know that there was vinegar involved and some seasonings, but it was way better than, I don't want to break your heart, your Heinz. Cover his ears.
I'll cover Tom's ears.
Cover Tom's ears.
Okay.
Then Heinz, it was really, really good.
Okay, we're gonna
So
have
I
to
think
try it.
that,
Try it.
yes, we need to try that.
All right, so back to Three Maples on Market, your micro farm. You sell your fancy plants, is that
We
right?
do. We sell our fancy plants.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where do you do that at?
So right now you can go online to threemaplesonmarket.com, and our pre-sale is up. So our plants are very highly sought after because they're rare. We have rare heirlooms. We might be one of the only places in Ohio that carries some of these varieties. And you want to secure them before you actually get to the plant sale, because I had to break up a fight a couple years ago over a black Krim tomato plant.
Oh.
Is
Yeah.
that the rarest one you have?
No, it's not the rarest, but it's delicious.
So what are some of these rarer tomato types? Like what makes them special?
So some of our seed comes from, there's this explorer. There's these two brothers that go up into these remote villages all over the world, and they collect seeds from these villages. And then they take those seeds and then they sell them. So some of those varieties that they've collected, we grow. And I know I said it might be the only one in Ohio, but we might be the only one in this side of the Mississippi. I say that a lot. Yeah, that actually grow some of these types. So,
And when is growing season?
growing seed?
Like if we could buy them,
yes.
when do we put them in the soil?
So that's a highly debated topic. Some people say that their grandmothers told them it has to be after Mother's Day. So they said, you're safe to put it in the ground after Mother's Day. Others say to wait, a couple weeks later on. You want to wait really until your soil temperature reaches a certain point. So like 55 degrees. And I know you all probably don't have thermometers to check your soil, but you can just Google that, US soil temps, and it will show you what our range is right now.
See, I like that nice scientific measurement.
Right.
We like numbers. We're science
We
people.
do.
We like numbers here. So once people get their plants in the ground, what are maybe just like some simple planting tips or upkeep tips with watering and feeding the plants?
Do not overlove your tomato plant. You want to kind of let them go a little on their own. And when they start to look sad, that's when you water.
Okay.
You really want those roots to go down very deep because as weather people, you know that in the summertime, sometimes we have a drought and you don't want to be out there watering your plant on the hour. You want to make sure their roots are really far down into the ground and they can take up their own water on their own. So for instance, when we plant our plants, we only water them probably for the first week once a day. And then after that, they're on their own.
See,
Unless they're the little bitty ones, then that's a different story.
Different side. But that's interesting that you said that because I've never thought of it that way. So if you leave them without the water, the roots dig down deeper to try to find that water table down there. I've never thought of that before, but as you're saying it, I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, they're acclimating. They're hardy. These plants are very hardy if we allow them to be.
And then how far away, like spacing wise, do you space out the tomatoes in your garden?
It depends on what variety you're getting. We have some, like for instance, this one that I have here today is one of our dwarf varieties. This is Mervel de Nan. He's French. I know, he's
Lovely.
adorable. He only
Oui,
gets about He only gets about 6 inches tall. And as you can see, if you're watching, he's already loaded with tomatoes, which is pretty incredible. So with a plant of this size, you could, if you were doing this in a pot, you could plant multiple of them, maybe 8 inches apart in a pot. And then throw some basil in there too, because they're companion plants. They really get along well together. However, if you're doing a plant that would be much taller, you're going to want to stick maybe 2 feet apart, I would say.
All right, so what are maybe some common issues that people may run into when they are planting and their tomatoes actually start to grow?
You want to make sure that your leaves are up off the bottom of the ground because a lot of times if you have some kind of fungal things going on in the soil, when it rains, the water will splash that up onto your plant and then now your plant has a problem. So you want to be proactive in getting off your bottom branches of leaves and leaving your top to flourish. Another thing would be staking. You want to stake now. As soon as you plant that tomato plant, you need some kind of support. Especially if it's not a dwarf plant. Otherwise, it's going to flop right over onto the ground. And if you've gardened before, we are tired after we get everything into the ground. And you're not going to want to go back a month later and try to stake this wild thing up off the ground.
So we have a viewer question from Andrew DePaulo.
Andrew?
He has a question as when the tomatoes are blossomed and ready to go, why are they split and how do we stop the split?
Oh, okay. Great question. So this is a weather-related question again. If we go through a period of not a lot of rain and then all of a sudden we have these big storms that come through, your fruit is going to split. So if you have any kind of coloring at all on your tomato and it's going to rain, you better run outside and pick your fruit off and let it ripen in the house. It's almost that the plant is taking up as much water as it can. And think about it as Thanksgiving dinner. you don't wear your big pants.
No.
You don't wear your stretchy pants. You head out, you have Thanksgiving dinner, and I mean, you're gonna explode. You're gonna have the muffin top.
Very
happening.
good analogy.
Yeah,
I
so
love
that's
that.
exactly what's happening. It's too
Okay.
much Thanksgiving dinner
Okay.
when it
She
rains.
knows.
Yeah, she knows. She knows everything.
Very knowledgeable about the fancy plants. Okay, so you have a couple pop-ups coming up. Where are those located?
Yeah, so May 3rd is going to be in Hubbard, and that's at Extending Grace, and it's going to be a really big spring celebration. So we're super excited. We've worked with them before. Susan and Devin are the owners, and it's kind of like an antique shop, and they also have like oddities, and we're bringing on board a couple other people. There will be jewelry. We have a baker coming in. There's going to be a coffee shop.
Ah.
So you will really leave with everything you need for yourself, but also for Mother's Day.
And you'll be there too if we have any questions.
Definitely. I will be there. My husband will be there, and
Okay.
we can answer any questions that you might have. We love to talk tomato.
Yeah, I love to talk to them. So we've talked a lot about the beginning of the tomato season here, planting them, getting in the ground.
Yeah.
But how late does tomato season really run to? Like, how long can people expect their tomatoes to actually be producing fruit?
So if you plant them in the ground and they're just a typical variety, I don't want to say typical because we're atypical. We have unusual things here. But if you plant a typical tomato plant, they'll go until frost. So as soon as the first hard frost comes, if you don't cover, it will be the end of the tomato season. But I was telling you guys when I got here that we actually have this fella that comes in and he buys dwarf tomato plants every year, and his wife is over it. But he travels with them from Ohio when they drive down to Florida like it's his puppy. And then he brings it all the way back again. So it's something that could last as a house plant inside of the house. And you don't even need a bee.
Wow. Okay.
Self-pollinating.
Yeah, I've never thought of, keeping one inside of the house, but
No.
I mean, if it's small enough like that, you can keep it as a little pet, I
Yes!
guess. with
All
you,
right,
just
direct
keep it around.
light or indirect light?
If it's inside the house, you're going to want a little grow light on it. Yeah. And it can even be like a shop light.
Oh.
Yeah. Or just any kind. If you go to TJ Maxx,
Oh.
do a little
get a little light.
Maxxinista and find yourself a nice little lamp specifically for your plant.
And talking about having the plant in the house, last month we were talking about maybe some ways for people in apartments to still do some gardening, even with little space. Tomatoes, because of the way that they grow and can kind of weave through things, there's a lot of different options to plant them, right?
Oh, definitely. If you didn't go small and you wanted a larger tomato plant, sticking with something that's a cherry would be best for growing in an apartment. If you have like a little outdoor space, you could stick those in a pot and then you're fine. And we even have some varieties that are shorter that are a normal variety. Like our lipstick tomato only gets about probably 2 feet tall. And our other variety, Bing cherry, is another one that stays relatively small.
I love hearing the names of the
I
different
know.
tomatoes.
So do you have a website that we can go to learn about which tomato plant that we would like to purchase from you?
Yes, so 3maplesonmarket.com, and it's the number 3. You can find all of the things that we offer, which we offer more than tomatoes. Like I said before, we have basil, we have weird cucumbers.
I like weird.
zucchinis. Do you?
Yes.
The Mexican sour gherkin might be for you.
Okay. Well, I think I'm joining you at the pop-up on
You
May
are.
3rd.
I'm excited.
Okay.
And
Yes.
I want to hear some more about these fancy tomatoes. I want to see more fancy tomatoes
Yeah.
when you're there.
Okay, what's the most bizarre name of a
Yes.
tomato that you have?
Oh, probably. Please ask my husband to say this because he can't say it. Sorry. Malakitavoya shkatolka.
God bless you.
Yeah. Wait,
Malakitavoya
Malakitavoya
shkatolka.
Shkataka.
You're close.
Okay,
We're
what
close.
kind of tomato
Yeah.
is that?
So it's this huge beefsteak tomato, and it's an emerald green color, like an emerald green olive. Amazing. And a lot of people are afraid to try colors that aren't normal, like the red and the orange, but this will change your life.
Okay, well, what do you eat or where do you put that tomato? On a sandwich?
BLTs, you could chop it up and make salsa with it. It's pretty versatile. Like we do everything. I even make sauce with our tomatoes.
Where does that one come from?
It comes from like Russia, Moldova, over in that region.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if people, they're really into cooking, they want a tomato, what's maybe like the most versatile tomato type that they should kind of look for if they want to do some different food options, I guess.
So red calabash is one that's really incredible. Thomas Jefferson actually grew it at Monticello. Yes.
Wow.
I know. So it's got a lot of history to it. And he used it for paste, sauce, fresh eating, everything. So that one would be great and versatile, and it has a lot of history to it too, which is a really important component of why we're so excited about what we do.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this?
It's been over a decade. It's been a long time.
And you're
I don't
in
know
your
if we're
9
gonna
to
do the
5
math
as
right
a
now.
teacher.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I daylight as a teacher and I nightlight.
Nightlight, yeah.
Is that the word?
It
It
can
is
be.
today.
It is here.
I nightlight as a tomato whisperer.
You are.
Yes.
You're so knowledgeable about it. And also we can follow along on your Instagram.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
It's
I
very
try to keep
pleasing
everybody
to
up to
the
date.
eye.
Oh, good. I'm happy that you're
You
liking
can
it.
see all the fancy plants there.
Yes, all the fancy plants. And speaking of pleasing to the eye for people watching, we didn't entirely plan on this, but we have the tomato colors
We
in
did.
the room. So we have Brooke is the stem with the green. We got some red. We got some yellow here.
Yeah.
So we really
brought the tomato to you
to
guys.
life.
Yeah.
We brought the tomato to life
We
today.
have.
Well, Brooke, thank you for coming in to do all of this and tell us all about these tomatoes here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No,
Thank
of
you
course.
so much. Yeah, follow along. Brooke is very knowledgeable with the tomatoes. You know, visit her at the pop-ups. You can find more of that on her Facebook and Instagram. And remember, vibes and subscribe.
And you can see our Vibes and Subscribes here on the fourth Thursday morning of every month on The Vibe, where you can find all the rest of your 21 WFMJ podcasts wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, so we'll see you guys next month. Thanks for tuning in.